little note comes up and says it's showtime, and then the live counter is rolling. Hello, welcome everyone to another installment of KloobySnacks Sunday night. I'm flying solo right now. I've been trying to get a hold of Abby unsuccessfully. Who knows what's happening with her right now in New York? I believe she's okay. She's probably sleeping or something like that. My wife is actually out on the East Coast. My wife left for New Jersey this morning and got to spend some time with Abby. So I have a feeling she's just sleeping. It's 11 o'clock out there after all. So tonight is number 49. I'm going to go at it alone. Maybe she'll come on board at some point, get my messages and join us after the fact. But if you want to join and talk about the Klooby snack that I have to read to you tonight, then there's the link, tinyurl.com/KloobySnack49. It's the 49th week of the year. And wow, what a project. You know, all of the memories that come up on social media, Facebook. I remember this time a year ago, we were finalizing the cover design and having the Zooms with the editor and the cover designer and finalizing the interior design. And it was an exciting time, and it's neat to reflect. It's like bittersweet. I'm kind of sad because we're getting towards the end of the year, the end of the project. But what a special ride that it has been. It's not perfect, right? This is like the fourth or fifth time that Abby hasn't been able to join for an installment of the reading. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and I'm even going to read her part too. Although I do that just to be thorough on the recording, not because I give it the same voice or the same perspective. And next week when she joins, I may end up asking her to reread it again. We'll go back and we'll kind of do it again. We'll do this all over again, but with her on the line. But here we go. Let me just do the best I can. Hopefully by now you know that KloobySnacks, it's the fifth of series, right? So the Get a Clue in 52 series, it's my fifth, I guess, made for social media book. In no particular order. This is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches. This is the original Get a Clue in 52. This was all about the soft skills. The five categories here were sales, networking, communication, accountability, and marketing. Five categories. Same thing with this one. Five categories for the coaching edition, five categories for the public speaking edition, and five categories for the entrepreneur edition. A couple of these I had co-authors, Vipul Dayal and Sue Matheson were co-authors on the project, and my co-author for this project is Abby, of course. So this is the first, it's the same thing, 52, but a couple of differences. Number one, KloobySnacks is the title of this one because I want to brand my motivational quotes. Why not? See a lot of motivational quotes floating out there on the internet. Why not mine? And I'm going to tip my hat to a colleague of mine, Nick Long. He's every bit as much of a wordsmith and a fan of wordsmithing as I am. And so he's got his knickknacks, and I got my KloobySnacks, and maybe one day we'll write a book together, knickknacks and KloobySnacks, or KloobySnacks and knickknacks, or something like that. But it's fun to play on words, and the universal truths are universally truthful. Right? And then the extroverts and the playful spirits and the jovial souls, we put our own spin on it. And it's part just we can't help ourselves, and part of it is differentiation and branding and so forth. So I want to why not? Let's give it a shot to see if I can establish or popularize or brand my motivational quotes, my flavor. And so this it's not Get a Clue in 52, even though my company Get a Clue did publish it. The title is KloobySnacks. That's one difference. And the other difference, which is playful and it feeds into the baker's theme, like baking and food, and KloobySnacks and ScoobySnacks, the play on that marketing, is baker's dozens. So instead of five categories, this book has four baker's dozens. We started the year with loving flavored KloobySnacks, then ego flavored KloobySnacks, and discipline flavored KloobySnacks. And now we're in the final cookie jar, the last baker's dozen, integrity flavored. And that's a through line to my other book that I wrote, The Integrity Game. And this is my brand. You know, it's a 10-point model that I use to deliver personal and professional growth or soft skill or coaching, training, employee engagement, motivation, accountability frameworks, etc. So this is my thing. And this has a sequel as well. It's actually a prequel, Uncommitted. So I've got a co-author for this project as well. So the whole self-publishing thing, I got the bug a couple years back, and now I'm 7 self-published books. 3 of them went to number 1, including KloobySnacks. We went to number 1 earlier in the year among new releases in the category of parenting girls. Who knew? So many times in this book, I'm like begging Abby for forgiveness for all the mistakes I've made as a parent. And here I am, a number 1 best-selling author in the parenting girls category. Who knew? All right. So back to the 4 baker's dozens and where that leaves us tonight. We're in the integrity flavored cookie jar. And to just do a little review of the snacks that we've covered so far in this baker's dozen, we started with number 40. Behavior is the evidence of our integrity. This is a line or a KloobySnack that shows up every time I deliver the integrity game keynote. There's a point in the keynote at which I say, I make the comment, we judge ourselves by intent, but the rest of the world judges our behavior. Right? It's not what I meant I was going to do, or not what I thought you wanted me to do, or it's not what anybody else in my situation would do, or any of these explanations or rationales. Right? It's behavior. Behavior is the evidence of our integrity. So that's number one in this section. Number two, honesty is a strategy. A lie is a tactic. This is one that Abby wordsmithed a little bit after my wordsmith original. There's like 4 or 5 of those that showed up where she wanted to change the wording of it. And my old self would have been like, no, this is the snack. This is what it is. But my more mature self is like, okay, change it to whatever you want it to be, as long as you stay in the project with me and we see it all the way through to completion. So we're almost there a year later. Even though she's not here tonight, she's here tonight. Number 42, accountability will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our own behavior. The last time I mentioned this in a public speaking situation, it was last week at San Diego State during my 9 a.m. public speaking class when I was being evaluated by Dr. Matthew Savage. And as I was giving an overview into the talk that I wanted to get into, I started big picture to get down into the playing field of the conversation I wanted to have, which is a mental health discussion at this time of the semester, heading into the holidays, end of their first semester, the homesickness, the roommate stuff, the smaller fish, bigger pond, the adjustments and the clubs and the rec and the professors and the schedule and the food and the adjustments. And so that's what I decided to talk about last week. And so on the way to talking about mental health, I let them know that my approach to leadership and what I do for a living, my approach to the integrity game, is getting people engaged, providing motivation, and then accountability. And I just offered this one line about accountability. It will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be responsible for our own behavior. That's why I call it the integrity game instead of the accountability confrontation, right? Is to make it easier. Everything I do is to try to get people's guard down and to try to make it easier and fun to look within and to make accountability less threatening. And what a wonderful world it would be if accountability wasn't so threatening, not non-threatening, because we talked earlier in the year about ego defense. It's automatic, right? Ego defense is always going to show up to the party first, but hopefully we can, right, lengthen that fuse and get to a softer place when it comes to accountability, get it out of the vibration of judgment and punishment and get it into the willingness to be counted, because we want a life, a career, or business that we don't currently have. So we're willing to be held to account in order to go get what we want to get, right? Rather than snapping our fingers with a sense of entitlement. Accountability, it's a soft and careful dance. All right. 43. We are never guilty of ignorance, but we are always guilty when willfully ignorant. That was fun when Abby had a really mature perspective and response to that. The one that was fun to kick around with her. Then number 44, this is another one that Abby switched up. And this one was like rightfully so. I actually said, yeah, I think that makes it better from the original. But here it goes. Critical thinking creates ideas. Strategic thinking makes them work. One of the many reviewers that we had reviewing the book before it came out, so we were able to get all of these comments of advanced praise that show up in the beginning of the book that we're so grateful for, like lots and lots and lots of comments of advanced praise we were able to put in the book. It's vulnerable. You start asking people to read your book like weeks and weeks and weeks before you can come out with it, just to get a couple of good quotes. And we were blessed. We got a lot of great responses. And I remember specifically one of them catching this exact KloobySnack and agreeing with Abby that her word choice on it was better. So I just want to, give credit where credit is due there. Let's see if, no, that's not Abby. Okay. All right. Number 45, moving on. Number 45, never let the possibility of not achieving your goal prevent you from pursuing your goal. Goal setting is one of the 10 points on the integrity game 10-point model. So some of these snacks are about goal setting and the psychology of achievement. And my hats off to like one of my mentors earlier in my career, Brian Tracy, who I learned a lot about the the psychology of success, the psychology of achievement, the reasons why people fail to set goals, and then processes for how to go ahead and set goals. And these are some of these universal truths that I was mentioning that extroverts want to, put in their own words or create their own frames or create their own acronym or create their own model, create their own approach. I certainly have done that for goal setting, but this KloobySnack is kind of born from the land of goal setting and on the integrity game 10-point model. The value of setting goals isn't linked necessarily to achieving the goal. The value is that it sets a path. It gets you in motion. You might have heard the term like, oh, set a goal for the moon, you might reach some stars, right? And I don't like the way that that's phrased because it's almost like fool yourself. So it's not like you only want to set a goal for something that you really do believe you can achieve. Never set a goal if you don't believe you can achieve it and settle for what's else. But it's similar to that. The idea is, I just want to make sure what I'm communicating here is that the value of goal setting is, it's not a binary. It's not like failure if you don't achieve the goal and success only if you do. There are so many things that you'll achieve, so many things that you'll earn and learn and accomplish on the way to the goal itself. So don't let the possibility that you may not achieve your goal prevent you from pursuing your goal. You have so much more to gain on the way to the goal, whether you achieve the goal or not. All right, next. Number 46. If you don't know your purpose, how could you ever know what anything is really worth, right? There's so much packed into this, but as a matter of review, I'll just say that, value is subjective. What is something worth? Well, whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Well, how do we know what we're willing to pay for something? Well, it's a series of calculations that we make based on so many different factors. Purpose is in the pole position in the integrity game 10-point model. It's the first thing. I didn't popularize this either. What's your purpose? Simon Sinek is popular for popularizing. Start with why. Public speaking, of course. We've been teaching public speaking the same way for years and years and years. What's the purpose of the speech? Is it to entertain, inform, or persuade? Once you determine the purpose, then you can make every other decision you want to make about the speech. Same's true in life, career, or business, right? I would imagine, yeah. So we put purpose in the pole position, and we get to ask this like thought-provoking KloobySnack of a question. If you don't know your purpose, how can you ever know what anything is really worth? It gets us thinking. Know your purpose. All right. Number 47. Many people say they have to, and truthfully, they choose to. Right? Slow down. This is like the whole addiction to stress piece. Why say should when you could say could, right? I dislike, and I see it in the 18-year-old kids that I'm teaching now at San Diego State, the freshmen. They show up to campus and they're freaked out if they miss a class. Oh, is it okay if? Is it okay if? Is it okay? Is it okay if? They're always, is it okay if? And the answer is always the same. Yeah, it's okay if you come to class. It's okay if you do your work. They're like, they show up so addicted to stress. It's disconcerting to me. And and then we carry that into adulthood. The rat race, the corporate structure, the working while we're driving on our phones, bringing the laptops into our bedrooms with us, constantly responding to everything, afraid of FOMO, fear of missing out, all of the stuff. A lot of times people it rolls right off their tongue. I have to, I have to, I have to, I have to. That's like, hang on a second. Do you? And okay if you have to, but based on what set of consequences? Like if you don't, you won't live the life you want, or you don't, you're going to upset somebody else, right? Or not keep up with the Joneses, or suffer some consequence that you've undervalued or overvalued. Or I'm just asking everybody to slow down on the have to versus want to jam. All right. Next, 48. This is last week. Many people confuse a goal with a hope, a wish, or a dream. This one, back to the land of goal setting. And this just talks about, like, again, the accountability of it, like the specificity, the measurability, right? If you talk about SMART goal setting, SMART, to that model, I added an A, change the R to get a little more behavioral change. To get focused on, to get the clients that I work with focused on behavioral change, I added an A and changed the R. The R in SMART, when I learned it, was realistic, and I think we covered that with the first A of achievable. Right? So, and change the R to reason or reward, right? because when you're trying to change behavior, when you're trying to get new results, when you're trying to get to new levels, next levels, advance your career, overcome bad habits and destructive patterns and your generational traumas or whatever it is, right? You have to at some point identify behavior that you need to change. There's an unofficial definition of insanity that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is insanity, right? So if you want new results, by definition, you have to change behavior. But when I learned smart goal setting, there was nothing in those letters, SMART, that focused on behavioral change. And we know that as the older we get, the harder it is to change our behaviors because of comfort zones and all of that. So talking about behavioral change without talking about the why of behavioral change is empty. We are not going to change behavior unless we're very clear about enough reason to change behavior. It's like tipping the scales. We got to put enough motivation on one side to get our butts off the ground on the other side. So in my goal setting model, it's, the specific, yeah, that works. The measurable, yeah, that works. That differentiates a goal from a hope, a wish, or a dream. We'll keep the T at the back end of SMART, time, by, when. Yeah, we need all those things for a goal to be different than a hope, a wish, or a dream, specific, measurable, and time bound. But when we get to this A, achievable, that's what makes it realistic, which also makes the R, which used to be realistic, redundant. Are you staying with me in my sense of humor? So R became redundant when I was looking for behavioral change. I didn't find it. So I added an A for ambitious. Your goal is ambitious if you need to change behavior. Do you need to decrease a behavior, increase a behavior, start a behavior, stop a behavior? If you have to either decrease, increase, start, or stop a behavior, now your goal is ambitious and you may need some support. You may need some help, some coaching, or some training, or whatever. Then the R becomes reason. Why do you want to change behavior? Why else do you want to change behavior? Why else? Any other reason? Any other reason? Any other reason? So another KloobySnack is that if you only have one reason for getting something or wanting something, you might get around to doing something about it. If you only have one reason for wanting something, you might get around to it. But if you've got like 6 reasons for wanting something, you could be unstoppable. And if you know what you want, and I know what you want, and I know why you want what you want, and we're working together, right? Then I'm going to be able to, raise that mirror and hold that up and make accountability less threatening if I earn your trust and I have the right communication techniques to hold up that mirror for you. This is what you want. This is why you want it. This is the strategy. This is the tactic. Write this way to your calendar, please. Let's go. So many people confuse a goal. Oh, my goal today is, my goal this year is, and they just throw the word out without any specifics behind it, without any measurability behind it, without any time-bound nature of it, or maybe they even do put the time-bound nature of it, and that's what makes it even more ambiguous. Like, really, your goal today is? So it's, everybody's got their own language. That's fine, but this is where the KloobySnack comes from, as a matter of review. And then number 49, that takes us to tonight. It looks like, hang on a second, Charlie has joined us. Charlie, can you hear? Can you hear me? Hello, Charlie? He's texting, connection is bad. Well, I tried to put you into the room. If you can hear me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to roll on with tonight's KloobySnack now that I've done that review. Number 49, we must.
Hello, Coach.
Hey, Charlie, all the way from South Africa. How are you?
Hello, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if
my connection is very bad. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, mute, because it's not going to make a clean live stream if we're doing a lot of tech stuff. But I want to acknowledge that you're here and say thank you, and hopefully you're going to get some value out of the review that I covered. And now I'm going to go ahead and read tonight's snack. Thank you, Charlie. All right. There we go. So number 49. Here we go. We must be, and this, by the way, let me just say, I really like this KloobySnack a lot. This is one of my favorites. So I'm going to slow down here, and then I'll get ready to bring up the visual and read what Abby wrote for tonight's snack. But here we go. We must be as clear about the things we want. What's going on? Where'd my banner go? Come back, banner. All right. We must be as clear about the things we want to learn as we are accepting of the things we must learn. So for me, this is a little play. If you remember a couple of snacks ago, we had this one right here. Many people say they have to, when truthfully they choose to, right? To choose to. Here, I'm criticizing that piece. But now here, I'm inviting that distinction to help us out, right? So the idea is, on the one hand, We must be as clear about the things we want to learn. What do we want to learn? Are we clear about that? This is very interesting to me. My banner is just automatically, oh, I don't want a clock. That's how interesting. It goes on a clock. That's new. That's new tech. That's interesting. It'll show for 10 seconds and then it'll go away. I've never seen that before. Hey, what do you know? Right here on the live stream. All right. We must be as clear about the things we want to learn as accepting of the things we must learn. I don't know if I like that. I don't know how to get rid of it. Weird. I'm going to have to experiment with that offline. All right. So what I'm going to do, yeah, that's weird. It's very strange. All right. And we can't troubleshoot it live. So let me go ahead and go to my screen sharing. Everything seems slow today. Here we go. Should be able to see my screen now. There's my beautiful fan. On my birthday, by the way, we were bowling at this really cool hotel in San Diego called the Lafayette Hotel that has a bowling alley there. And let me go ahead and scroll to tonight's KloobySnack. And as I mentioned, we are in the integrity flavored baker's dozen. So I say that I'm slowing down a little bit so people can see the cookie jar. It's so fun. We're getting out of the one section into, there you go, integrity flavored. There's the cookie jar. So we had some interior design. There's a little summary of all the snacks, but none of them in full. They're just keywords or words. They're teasers, if you will. Right. This is my intro to the section. And then here's all of the snacks that we've covered so far. I reviewed them already. So I'm going to scroll to number 49 tonight. And here it is. We must be as clear about the things we want to learn as we are accepting of the things we must learn. So I've had to learn a lot this year, these years, since the passing of my parents, or getting my brother's news about cancer, or cutting the umbilical cord of watching children enter adulthood, or so many other things in my professional life and community life. Right? I'm very accepting of what I must learn, how I learn to let go of things, or learn to pick my battles wisely. I can go on forever about how this snack applies to me right now these days. It's just one of my favorite. But let me go ahead and try to get through and read what Abby had to say. And it goes a little something like this. She says, "This Klooby snack is powerful, yet it's composed of so many parts that it gets a bit confusing. Well, at least it did for me," she said. "To understand this Klooby snack, I've realized it's best to break it into a few parts as follows. One, being clear. Being clear about what you want is one of the easiest ways to get what you want. When I was in elementary school, my dad was often the one in charge of feeding me and my siblings dinner due to my mom constantly traveling. We'd get in the car after school, and my dad would ask us what we wanted for dinner. I always knew exactly what I wanted, yet the words "I don't know" always jumped out of my mouth. He then proposed different restaurant options, all of which I'd turn down. This is funny. When he asked me what I wanted, I didn't give a response, but when he offered me options, I said no to all of them. Though the car was physically moving, he and I were getting nowhere. So after a few frustrating car rides and dinners at restaurants I didn't want to go to, I realized the power of being clear. That's the first part of this Klooby snack. Adorable. All right. Number two, want versus need. Though our wants are what tend to motivate us, life isn't just about what we want. Our wants are balanced by our needs. I might want to finish an entire tub of Thrifty's pistachio ice cream, but my body needs fuel from a real meal. I might want to stay up on my phone all night, doom scrolling through TikTok, but my body needs substantial sleep. I might want to only take classes that interest me in school, but I need to take core curriculum classes such as math and sciences. What we want to learn versus what we must learn operates the same way. Often the things we must learn come before the want, using the must learn as a foundation for the directions in which we want to grow. When we're clear about the things we want to learn, such as the things that interest us, confuse us, or intrigue us, then we willingly seek that knowledge. After breaking this Klooby snack up a little bit, it's much more digestible. Our needs serve as the foundation for our wants to build off of, allowing us to further enjoy the wants. Dessert always tastes better after we've had our dinner. All right. That's it. I think that I miss her tonight. I'm gonna, before I sign off, I'll just do this live one more time and see if there's a message from her. but I'm quite sure that she is sleeping. I'm quite sure of it. But I can't wait to talk with her about it and ask her how she feels now versus how she felt last year when she wrote that. And this is one of those snacks where I think she was really, it was like one of these healing things on my side where you could see what's in there about the diet. Like I could feel my parenting coming out in the snack, right? Wants versus needs and delay gratification and take care of the responsibilities first, then do the fun things. You're never going to make time for the fun things if you constantly give in to want without balance. And what do you really want long term? And what are the short term sacrifices that that's going to take? And these are tough parenting conversations to have in an instant gratification world with a tough teenager and a whatever dad attitude and all of that stuff. And we work through it. But I remember a year ago reading or having her read. That was the best, right? When she would come down like, "Hey, can I read it to you? Can I read it to you?" And sometimes my instincts were like, "Hey, can I just read it myself?" And then I would fight those and be like, "Yes, you can read it to me." And you start to hear, I remember the feeling like, "Oh my God, the parenting has gotten through. Like, is she kissing bud? Is she sucking up? And how does she remember these things?" And she's weaving it in. And it's like after a while, I couldn't be so shocked. It was just, it is what it is, right? And then sometimes like, "Dad, tell me about this snack. What do you, I knew I liked this one, but tell me what you meant by it." Sometimes she didn't have to ask me that at all. And she would just roll. And sometimes she didn't understand the snack, but she knew she liked it or she knew there was something there, wanted to know what I heard. And then like they literally would interview me and then journalistically then write about the KloobySnack after having asked me about it. And so this one was one of those as well. And it was just fun to watch her be vulnerable, watch her struggle, watch her open up to the crazy mind of her dad. And it was great for me to not only get so much of the parenting validated, but to have my daughter see me and appreciate me and start to understand what I'm trying to do in this world, what I'm bringing to this world, what's behind it. And so it's fun now, a year later, as she's finishing up her first half, her first semester of school and living in New York on her own and, adulting, to go through these snacks again. And so I don't know what next year holds. I haven't written another book. So this is going to, 2026 is going to be the first year since 2020 that I haven't come out with a new made for social media book. After 6 years in a row, I'm going to give myself a break. And five made for social media books, one of which I read 2 years in a row because there were so many mistakes the first edition, and I streamed it into a different social media platform. But towards the end, that's number 49 right there. Again, we must be as clear about the things we want to learn as we are accepting of the things that we must learn. And yeah, I just don't know how to get this clock to not work anymore. So I got to troubleshoot that next week. But that's all I got. I would say last call. Normally we do last call for it's. I can see now it's on a per banner basis, by the way, because this one doesn't have the clock ticking. So last call for comments, questions. But that's usually if Abby's here or if anybody else is here. Charlie, I'll just give one last chance to see if your connection is solid enough to make a brief connection, but not to. We don't want to be live streaming too much static or noise, but one last chance at a last call if you have any comments or questions. I always want to honor the fact that you're taking time to come and join us on KloobySnacks to see if you had a comment or a question. Check the chat. Ties in beautifully with KloobySnack number 3. Oh, yeah, connection bad. Okay, Charlie. Well, thank you for coming on board. It's always great to see you, my friend. And thank you for those of you out there that checked in or watching a recording of this installment of KloobySnacks. My apologies. Abby's not with us tonight, but we'll make sure that she's joining us for at least one more in between now and the end of the year. There's only 3 more after tonight. Number 50, number 51, and then we'll round out number 52. 52 KloobySnacks, 1 year, 1 #1 bestseller, and another cut to the umbilical cord. We still got Brody coming up at 13 years old, and AJ's still living with us while he's going to Palomar before he goes back to a 4-year next year. But yeah, time is undefeated. And yeah, proud of the kids, and hope you are proud of your kids or proud of your parents, or I hope this is lending something to the daddy-daughter, the parent-child relationship out there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see everyone next week.